It was supposed to be a break, a reset. Just me, Ethan, and an untouched island with a sleeping volcano. We'd film, we'd hike, maybe find a story to tell. But nature doesn't wait for permission. And when the mountain woke up, everything changed. The paths collapsed, the radio went silent. We were alone out there. And the more we tried to get out, the more I realized some disasters don't come in waves. They drag you down one slow, suffocating inch at a time. Ethan always had these big, half-insane ideas. One month it was filming a ghost town in Arizona. The next, it was a free-diving documentary. This time, it was volcanoes. He sent me the link at 3 a.m. along with a voice note that sounded like he'd already packed. Dude, I found it. Remote island, middle of the Banda Sea. It's not even on tourist maps. Just jungle, rock, ocean, and one dormant volcano. Nobody's touched it in decades. I say we go. You film, I write, we make something real again. I stared at my ceiling for a while after that. My apartment was too quiet, too stale. Rent was 3 weeks overdue. I hadn't written anything worth reading in over a year. I needed out. And I missed that feeling when we used to take off with a camera and nothing but stupid hope that something big would happen. So I messaged him back. I'm in. We flew into Ambon 2 weeks later. The air felt heavier there. The sky had a yellow tinge near the horizon, and everyone spoke fast like they knew something you didn't. From there, we took a rusted, low-sitting ferry to a smaller village on the coast, and that's where we met Harun. He didn't smile much, just smoked clove cigarettes and eyed our gear like it was junk. But he had a boat, and a good one. Sleek hull, twin outboards, enough to get us where we needed to go. 3 days, he said in clipped English. No more. After that, I leave. Why 3? Ethan asked. Harun looked at the mountain in the distance, its top hidden in thick gray cloud. Volcano not dead, just waiting. Ethan grinned like that was the best news he'd ever heard. I wasn't so sure. We hit the island's shoreline on a clear morning. No dock, no roads, just black sand and thick green walls of trees behind it. It was stunning, raw, unfiltered, untouched. The kind of place you dream about as a kid, where dinosaurs might still walk and you half expect to find something ancient just lying in the dirt. I dropped my bag and just stood there for a minute staring at the tree line. The quiet wasn't peaceful. It was thick, like the place didn't want to be disturbed. Welcome to the edge of nowhere, Ethan said, shouldering his camera. Then he walked into the trees like he belonged there. We didn't hike far that first day, just about 200 meters in until we found a clearing beside a stream. Flat ground, some boulders for cover, dense canopy above. Good spot for tents. Too quiet, but good. The sun dropped fast. By 6:30 p.m., we were using headlamps just to see our boots. Ethan was still recording, muttering B-roll thoughts into his mic, something about contrast and natural sound. I sat on a rock watching the trees sway. The only real noise was the soft trickle of the stream and the occasional rustle of something small moving nearby. I wrote maybe 4 sentences in my notebook. Then I just stopped. Not because I was tired, because my brain felt heavy. Like I'd walked into a place I wasn't meant to understand. And the deeper we went, the more that feeling settled in my chest. We slept with knives near our hands. No reason. No animals bothered us. It just felt necessary. And that night, I dreamt I was underwater. The next morning, we started up the lower ridge trail. Our goal was simple: reach a wide plateau about halfway up the slope. From there, Ethan could fly the drone, get wide shots of the crater, maybe capture thermal vents or old lava beds. That was all we wanted. Footage, perspective, drama. We didn't go for the summit. We weren't stupid. The terrain shifted fast. Grass gave way to old basalt. The trees thinned. Heat radiated through our boots even when the sun was covered. The ground had veins, long cracks that hadn't been there 30 minutes before. That's when I noticed the smell. Not sulfur, exactly. Something more metallic, like scorched iron and blood. I said nothing. Ethan didn't mention it either, but we both moved a little faster after that. At exactly 3:12 p.m., the ground thumped just once, like someone had dropped a massive weight underground. Ethan froze mid-shot. I paused, mid-sip from the water bottle, and stared at the crater's edge. It didn't smoke, it didn't vent, but the air shimmered, just slightly, and the ground felt alive. You feel that? I asked. Ethan nodded. Yeah. Was that a quake? No idea. Another pause. Then the breeze picked up, cool again, normal. The moment passed. We camped halfway down the ridge that night, surrounded by silence so deep it made your own breathing feel loud. Around 1 a.m., I heard Ethan unzip his tent and walk a few paces. I thought he was taking a leak until I heard him whisper, "It's breathing." I unzipped my tent quietly and stepped out into the dark. The moon was gone, hidden behind thick, ash-colored clouds. My headlamp flickered before catching, throwing weak light into the brush. Ethan? I found him crouched near the slope, maybe 10 feet from our tents. One hand was pressed to the ground, the other holding his breath like he didn't want to break something sacred. "I'm telling you," he said quietly, "it's not just wind. The whole mountain, it inhales. Then it holds. It's like it's waiting." I didn't say anything for a few seconds. I just listened, and I heard it. A soft, deep vibration, not enough to rattle teeth or move gear, just enough to feel it in your ankles, like standing near a subway tunnel, but no sound. It pulsed. Once. Pause. Then again. "You sure this isn't normal?" I asked. He shook his head. "Not for a dormant caldera." We went back to the tents, but we didn't sleep. Not really. The next morning, everything felt different. The stream water we'd filtered had a bitter taste. The air was dry now, like a hairdryer constantly blowing from somewhere uphill. Ethan flew the drone just after 9 a.m. The footage was incredible. Black rock veins spiraling out of the crater, glowing edges just faint enough to suggest heat. "There's something moving down there," he said, tapping the screen. "Not lava. Just heat-shifting rock, could be nothing, could be pressure building. You said it was dormant." He zoomed in, then slowly backed the drone out. "Yeah, well, the Earth disagrees." Then he grinned again, trying to lighten it. "Hey, we wanted drama." I didn't laugh. We packed quickly, headed back toward the shoreline with the intention of breaking camp that night and radioing Harun to come early. But halfway down the ridge, the trail was gone. Not overgrown, not washed out, gone. Like the side of the slope had just crumbled away. Massive slabs of rock tumbled into the trees below, leaving a sheer drop where the switchback used to be. We stared in silence. Ethan finally said it. "We're not getting down this way." We hiked 3 hours in a loop to try a different trail. No luck. The volcano was bleeding around the edges now. Tiny rivulets of molten rock oozed from long fissures, trickling through the rocks like glowing veins. I unpacked the radio. It was an older shortwave set. Harun had one too, our lifeline. I called for him. Once, twice, 10 times. Nothing but static. We changed frequency bands, moved higher for better line of sight. Still nothing. By late afternoon, clouds of ash started drifting low over the canopy. Not thick yet, but the breeze was carrying it. I looked at Ethan. "If this gets worse, we need to shelter up high, not on the beach." Ethan hesitated. "But if Harun comes, he'll hit the shore." I nodded. "If he comes." That was the first time either of us said it out loud. Around sunset, we heard it. A deep, rumbling crack, like someone splitting the sky in half. The trees trembled. Birds shot out of the canopy like black missiles. We dropped to the ground as another blast came from the mountain's side. A vertical pillar of ash exploded upward, massive, mushroom-shaped, backlit by orange glow. No, this is bad," Ethan said. "That's a Plinian column." I turned. "English, Ethan. It's going to bury the island like Pompeii. If the wind shifts, we're..." Then came the shockwave. Not just sound, force. It hit like a shove in the chest. Tents collapsed behind us. Trees bent. Ash started falling thick and hot. We ran without thinking. We ran downhill, trying to outpace the ash cloud. But the footing was garbage. Old roots, slick rocks, ankle-deep grit. I slipped first, skidded sideways across stone, tore open my hand, and slammed into a tree trunk. Ethan tried to catch up, but he caught a sharp bend in the trail and vanished from view. I shouted his name. No answer. I pushed forward, one foot dragging, half limping. My leg burned. My throat felt raw from the dust. Ash was falling like rain now. Gray, bitter, choking, it coated everything. The world looked black and white. I found Ethan maybe 20 minutes later. He was sitting against a boulder, cradling his wrist. The joint was swollen. His mouth was cracked from the heat. He looked up at me like he didn't know who I was. "I dropped the camera," he whispered. "Before we dive back in, let me know where you're watching from. Drop your city or country in the comments. I'd love to see how far this story reaches. If the tension's got you on the edge of your seat, hit that like button. Subscribe for more deep dive survival horror tales and don't miss a single heart-pounding moment." We found a shallow rock ledge just before dark. It wasn't much, but it shielded the wind and falling ash. I made us both a thick mask using shirts wet with iodine water. Not ideal, but better than sucking dust straight into our lungs. Ethan's breathing was labored. His fingers trembled. The splint I made for his wrist was crooked but stable. He didn't talk much, neither did I. The volcano glowed through the smoke. Massive, silent, alive. Lightning cracked sideways through the ash plume above it. I'd never seen anything like it. Pure red veins across a dark sky. I tried the radio again, still static, still alone. The next morning came slow and gray. Everything looked dead. The trees, the stream, the sky, even the sound of the jungle was gone. No insects, no birds, just wind pushing ash in slow, lazy drifts. We had 4 protein bars left, 1 water bottle half full. The rest we'd tried to catch off leaves and filter through socks. It was cloudy, tasted like fire and dirt, but it kept us upright. Ethan's fever hadn't gone down. His face was pale, damp with sweat, and his wrist was turning purple under the splint. He tried to sit up, but collapsed back, wheezing. "We need real shelter," I said. "We stay out here. We die." He didn't argue. I left him wrapped in the tarp and climbed up a ridge to look for somewhere, anywhere that could offer protection. I half slid down the other side and found what looked like an old lava tube. A natural cave, half collapsed at one end. It was dry, cool, tucked away from the wind. I ran back, pulled Ethan up over my shoulder and dragged us both there. Every few steps I thought I'd collapse, but I made it. We both did, barely. We spent the next 2 nights in the lava tube. It was dark and smelled like minerals and damp rot, but it was safe. Ash drifted past the mouth, never coming in far. The heat from the outside kept us warm. Almost too warm. It felt like we were living inside the earth's skin, sweating in some stone stomach, waiting to be digested. Ethan faded in and out. I fed him sips of water and the last half of a protein bar, even though I hadn't eaten in almost 36 hours. He finally looked at me and said, "If I don't make it, I want you to promise something." I shook my head. Don't talk like that. Promise." "Okay. Don't let this be for nothing. Don't crawl out of here and pretend it didn't happen. Tell people, show them." I nodded, but deep down I didn't think either of us were getting out. On day 5, I left the cave. I had no real plan. Just a compass, Ethan's notebook with a rough sketch of the island, and the faint hope that I could reach higher ground for a signal. I made it 3 hours before I collapsed. The air was too hot, the ash too thick. I couldn't breathe without coughing up blood. My skin burned through my clothes. My sweat turned to salt. I fell near a dead tree and stayed there for a long time, just staring at the sky and wondering if this was it. And that's when I saw it. A flag, or what was left of one. A tattered orange panel tied high to a branch. Plastic, bright, not natural. I staggered toward it. Below the flag was an old campsite, abandoned, a rusted tarp frame, burnt logs, an empty water drum, and an old emergency transponder box. I tore open the box. The battery pack inside looked dead, but the solar panel was still attached. I wired it together the best I could, propped the panel against a rock, sat with it for what felt like hours, checking the little LED indicator every minute. Finally, a blink, then another. It had power. I hit the beacon. The light pulsed red. Emergency signal sent. Waiting for reply. Nothing came back, not immediately. But I stayed. Slept curled up beside the unit, clutching the transmitter like a lifeline. When I woke up the next morning, the red light was solid, not blinking. I ran. I don't even remember the way I came, but I ran, limping, stumbling, back to the cave. But it was empty. No blood. No tracks. Just his tarp and a crumpled water bottle half full. I searched for hours, called his name until my throat cracked, but Ethan was gone. I sat on a stone near the cave mouth until nightfall, hoping maybe he wandered and passed out nearby, hoping I'd wake up and he'd be beside me again. He wasn't. I don't know what happened to him. I don't want to believe he just walked off into the ash and died alone, but the truth is, I'll never know. The helicopter came late the next day. I saw it on the horizon like a silent bird slicing through smoke and wind. I waved the tarp, shouted, jumped until my legs gave out. They dropped a flare, circled. 30 minutes later, I was in the back of the bird, mask on my face, needle in my arm. They kept asking me questions. I barely heard them. They said the eruption had caught the entire region off guard. Ash clouds had grounded most flights. Our radio signal was drowned in atmospheric interference. But the beacon worked. They never found Ethan. I gave them the coordinates. They searched. Nothing. It's been 6 months. Sometimes I wake up coughing, still tasting ash in my mouth. Sometimes I think I hear the ground thump beneath me, just once, soft and far away. People ask me why we went, why we stayed, and I tell them the truth. We didn't stay because we were brave. We stayed because we believed the mountain would wait for us. But mountains don't care. They move when they want, and they don't leave survivors out of kindness. They leave them as warnings. That was the story. If you made it this far, thank you. Truly. Your time, your attention, your support, it means everything. If you felt something while listening, tension, fear, hope, hit that like button. It helps more than you know. And if you want more immersive survival horror stories like this one, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss what's coming next. I've got more stories that'll leave your heart racing. Until then, stay safe out there.